Welcome everyone to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Kendall and I work for Glitch Productions now. That is a new development. Woohoo! So today I have a very special guest with me. I have Chad Stewart, who was my middle school, high school animation instructor and has seen me through my awkward beginning phases of animation and is now able to enjoy seeing my successes. But I mean, a little bit about me is, of course, I started taking his animation course. He has one designed for middle school, high school students. I started in 2015 and really didn't know very much about animation. I just knew how software worked. But it really not only prepared me by teaching me animation history, also the principles of animation, how to create a short film, even though I never finished it, how to do storyboarding, all the things that really honestly set me up for my college and actual career, because I was able to enter my animation college program with so much more knowledge. I don't want to say I was ahead of my class, but it definitely helped me just ease right on in, and I didn't have much of a learning curve because I knew the basics, and then I could really focus on flourishing in my draftsmanship at college and really also grow in other aspects of animation like visual development, character design, all the things. But now I'm working for an animation studio, and I just feel like each stepping stone, beginning young and then going to college, and then really just all the skills that I learned from an early age got me to where I am now. And that's really why I want to talk to Chad and introduce you guys to him, because I just feel like, start as early as you can, and it really benefits your ability to have career success in the future. So without further ado, this is Chad Stewart himself, and I would love if you could briefly share some of maybe your previous works and just a little bit about the course.
Okay, yeah, well, thanks for having me, Kendall. This is so fun for me because I remember when you started with us, I think you were 13. I think I remember some My Little Pony stop motion animation, but you already had a YouTube channel and you already had a significant amount of followers. So it's been so fun to watch your journey and your growth, and now you're at a studio and there's so much ahead of you, so I'm super excited about that. So my introduction, I have been a professional animator. I got my first job in 1990, and I've been working in animation for now over 35 years, which is crazy. And like many young students, I kind of decided this at around 12 or 13. That was something that was this is what I want to do. This looks so great. There's this magic to animation that I love, and I love drawing. And so, as I said, my first job was in 1990. I was a background artist on The Simpsons, on the second season of The Simpsons, and then worked in hand-drawn animation for 10 years. Was an animator at Disney in the late 90s and animated on Tarzan and The Emperor's New Groove. And then as hand-drawn animation kind of went, just faded in popularity at the time, I switched over to computer animation. I did some storyboarding and some TV, and then ended up at Sony Pictures Imageworks, and was a CG animator and a CG lead animator on films like The Polar Express and Surf's Up, and then went into visual development. And then about 10 years ago, my wife Kayla and I started the animation course, which was really an online, the first that I knew of, an online course for middle school and high school animation. And I had taught at Animation Mentor, which is a college or adult level training program for 3D animation. And we got so many inquiries, so many requests from students that we thought, well, we'll throw it out there, and it has just taken off, and we've had over 6,000 students now, and we've been doing this for 11 years, which is crazy as well. So that's kind of a quick, rough introduction.
Wow, I can't believe it's been that long now. Was
Yeah.
I one of the first?
Yeah, you were.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think probably second year, probably.
That's so crazy. It feels like longer, honestly. So you were young when you also wanted to start doing animation. And I mean, that was a whole other generation because we didn't have digital means.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't just download a software for free and like during that time. So like, when you were young and you wanted to become an animator, what did your early learning process look like if you didn't have the same tools that we have today?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really even have personal computers. I had one, but it had no graphics capabilities, really. So everything I did was just drawing. And for me, I didn't take a lot of sort of official drawing classes or art classes. I just drew my own characters, and I liked to copy other characters that I liked. And a lot of students do the same thing, copying what they connect to. And so around my senior year of high school, I realized I'm probably going to have some formal art training. And so took an art class, and then started doing much more serious art in college. I went to CalArts, but it took me 3 tries to get in, and had to create 3 different portfolios. And in the meantime, I went to the University of North Texas and studied fine art and learned about painting and design and the human figure and all of these other basic sort of traditional art things. But really early on, I just like to draw. I like to watch cartoons, and I like to write my own stories.
Yeah. Honestly, that's the same for me too. I just fell in love with Disney movies and just wanted to do that myself. I connected with that. And so do you think like finding personal connection to those, like what you love, is important when you're just starting out, you think? That's a pop-on question right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big part of what drives people is that connection and that feeling of excitement. That I mentioned the word magic, and I'll say that a few times, but it sort of transports us into this world that's so exciting, and it's imagination, but it's also art, and it's this thing that we can do and connect to. So I do think the style is very important to draw someone into animation. Now, then when you get into a career, you have to branch out into all sorts of different types of styles. But that initial style, I think, always sort of sticks with an artist.
Yeah, that's so important. That's super key. When you worked on films at Disney and Sony, what's one lesson from the professional industry that beginners maybe should know early on?
You know, for me, the thing that I really learned at the studios is this is a team sport. Like, it's so collaborative. There's so many people. There's so many different artistic people driving into one singular vision. When I was a young person, I was sort of in my head, and I wanted to do everything. I wanted to design and animate and write and color, and realistically, in the professional world, especially at big studios, that just doesn't exist. Like, you really have to learn how to connect with people, how to work with people, how to accept critique.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not something I was ready for. And even doing like cold calls to network and introduce yourself to people that, you know, could help you or you wanted to work for. And all of those things I hated. I was and still am kind of an introvert, but now I really enjoy those parts of the process because, you know, people will ask me all the time about what my favorite film was to work on. And the first thing I think of isn't the film, it's the people, it's the process, it's that group and that teamwork. So I think that's something that really I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, no, honestly, I didn't realize how collaborative animation truly is until I made my capstone, The Jewel Sisters. Well, and also working on upperclassmen's films, but like before that, like and working on YouTube and stuff, I was so independent. It was like, all
Hmm.
right, I can do everything. I can design the characters, I can make the storyboards. I don't have to rely on anyone. And it did get exhausting, but I feel like it's kind of crazy to realize, oh, I'm serving the creator's vision now, and like
Hmm.
that's I have to be okay with critique, and it's that might be something young artists struggle with because I mean, with the online social media age now, it's like people can just create their own social media platforms and do their own thing, but when it comes to the industry, they might not have that collaborative experience, and so I think that's really key to maybe like learn more of how to collaborate with others and like
Hmm.
to serve someone else's vision. I feel like that's benefited me a lot for sure, like in the learning process, and that's helped me move forwards in the industry, to be honest. But so I want to shift gears and talk about the animation course itself. And I mean, you kind of touched on why you wanted to make it and when you made it because, a lot of students were reaching out. But what was a problem you were seeing with how young people were learning animation, either when you started it or now?
Okay. So throughout my career, I've always been approached by people who have a son or a daughter or their niece's cousin who wants to be an animator. And so they would meet an animator and say, "Hey, can they sit down and show you their work or watch you work?" So I knew there were enough students out there that were kind of in the same spot that I was in, which was I don't know anybody. I want to do this thing. I don't know anything about it, but and even the people around them, their family didn't know how to help them. So that was one thing, and then some friends of ours, a family friend, and this was another student who was one of our first students, but they had a son who enjoyed all of these different things like videography and visual effects and Maya and CG work. And he would show me the stuff that he was doing. And he was probably 12 or 13. And it was really impressive, but it didn't make a lot of sense. And I could see it as parents. They were kind of like, we don't really know what it means.
Oh no.
Um, and so I thought, it's not that far off. If he had a little bit of understanding of story and structure and kind of beginning, middle, and end, then all of this would make a lot more sense to. I could see him sort of expressing his vision more clearly and getting a much better response and gaining more confidence from that whole process. And just to brag on him a little bit, he just got he went on to become a videographer and cinematographer. He just got a National Geographic credit and is doing all this stuff around the world, shooting commercials, and has all these great opportunities. So he didn't go into animation, but we'll talk every once in a while. And he was like, "There's so many great things that I learned from your course
Mm.
to allow me to explore." And
Yeah.
and that's kind of the third piece is I wished I had had time as a young person to be able to explore all of these things because like you said going into college that's our goal is to give all of these students enough of an exposure to the whole process that they can see, oh, this is what I'm good at or this is what I really like. And when they get to college they're a little bit further along the journey that allows them to really go into that with much more success. So that's really what all three of those things kind of initially started the animation course. And honestly, it was my wife's idea.
Gotta
So
give her credit.
yes, she's the one who came up with it and said, I think we could do this. And I thought, really? I don't know. And we put it out there. And within a couple of weeks, we had 40 students. Within a few months, we had a few hundred students. So we were like, oh, I guess this will work.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I think that's so true of like using your course, but also just like education as a whole with animation to find what you're passionate about. Because I feel like a lot of what I've seen in college is animation students come in who may not have no experience with digital drawing, but they have experience with traditional, or students who love design but don't love animation. But the beauty, I feel like, of an animation education is you kind of learn everything. Like, if you're an artist and you want to grow in your storytelling just as an artist, like, animation's a great place to start, I would say. And I just think that's awesome. But also touching on problems and critiques you might have for students coming in. And so I'll say, I had the same problem going into your course of I don't know how to tell a story. Like, I don't know how to complete something. I don't know how to be critiqued by anyone. I've just only had my eyes on this. So that's super valuable for to see like the success of that student over time and like them finding what their niche is. I think that must be really, really rewarding for sure. Um,
Yeah,
so
it's very exciting for you too. Like, there's now, we've been doing this long enough. There's now a list of students who have gone through our courses because many of the students from 10 years ago are kind of in your spot where you're just now kind of starting out.
And it's crazy because I get messages on LinkedIn of people who are like, I took Chad's course and he talked about you. And even in YouTube comments, and some people saw my capstone and were like, I can't believe like you went from this to this, and you took his course, I took his course. So it's just really great for someone young, maybe middle school, high school, who wants to get into animation. Like, what are the most important fundamentals they should focus on first? Maybe like when building a portfolio or just exploring on their own.
Yeah, and it's so hard because it's a little bit different for anyone. And I think we talked earlier a little about that passion and what that spark is that has drawn you into this. So for some students, it's anime. For some students, it's CG animation and Pixar. And for some students, it's just drawing. And so whatever it is, I usually say, hey, lean into that. Like, make sure you don't lose that because that's going to give you that motivation and that energy. So definitely you want to research whatever that is, telling stories or creating characters, character design, and keep doing that. Now, the other thing that I will usually say is you can usually not go wrong with a traditional art foundation. Learning perspective, design, um, the human figure, especially the human figure in motion, and these traditional art classes and mediums that never really go out of style. The and I know people are worried about AI, but creatively, stylistically, those things are still very, very rare in the industry. And so having a foundation in those things, even if you're going to be a CG artist, is still really important. Another thing that, especially in this AI world, I would say train your creativity. Like, I see a lot of people that copy what they love, which is what we've already talked about, both of us did. And that's great. But something I had to work on in college was to say, okay, I want to express something unique. And how do I do that? And that uniqueness and that creativity is going to be more and more important as AI assistants become better and better. That unique vision. So I would say all of those things would be something I would
That that last one
recommend.
is a really unique point, and I really value that because I feel like that's so true. Because with Pinterest, first of all, and then Instagram, and then AI, it's like young artists, including myself when I was younger, just like all we think to create anything is to go to inspiration, which is good. You want like good
Mm-hmm.
reference of people who are better and more talented than you so you can learn and grow. But there's that key of like your own creativity and your own voice when it comes to the art. and even just referencing poses and stuff. Like, why not just take your own photo references and, create something new and try a new exercise? That I feel like I need to work on too, because I can feel so stuck as an artist. Like, oh, what do I create? I can't think of anything, so I go to Pinterest because I can't think of anything. Maybe I should have probably trained my creativity a little bit better. But, that leads perfectly into our next question, which is like a lot of beginners may feel overwhelmed that they're not good enough, or maybe they struggle with imposter syndrome. So, how do you help students kind of push past that mindset to help them create?
Yeah, the the first thing I think of is nobody is ever good enough. Like I've been doing this 35 years. I'm working on my own films, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I've seen conversations with artists from and animators from the 90s who, are just have done massively successful films, and I've seen them go, I don't know if anybody's gonna like this. So I think it's a natural part of being an artist is that creativity. Whenever you do something different, well, it might work and it might not. So I try to tell students to like relax. Like you don't have to be good enough now. What you do have to do is be dedicated. And those, to me, the dedication, work ethic, commitment to training, all of those things, I would say are the top qualities that made me successful, way more than talent, because you're gonna run into great moments and horrible moments, but if you're committed to the journey, then you're gonna keep taking steps forward. And you don't need to be good enough now, but you can be good enough later. And I'm not even sure why I convinced myself that I was good enough to make it in this. I look back at my work when I was younger and go, I don't really know what I was thinking, but I was convinced that this is what I wanted to do. And so I was committed to it. And I think that when I see students that are committed to the idea, then I say, great, you're where you should be on your journey. And now keep that commitment level pushing forward.
Yeah, that's so, so good, because I totally see that played out in my own life where, like, talent can get you places, but I feel like my work ethic and dedication to grow and like be a good team sport and like a good
Mm-hmm.
student and a good coworker has gotten me way more success than just like, oh, am I good enough? Moving on to our next question, and this could kind of tie into what we've already discussed, but what's a mistake you see beginners make all the time and how can they fix it?
So there's, I'll phrase it like this. I see them sort of skip to the end of the process. They rush to the end. So what I mean by that is they've watched something that they love, and they love the color, and they love the line work, and they love the design, and they love the finished product. And so they sit down, and it's a pretty natural thing. I think all of us, when we first start, are a little shell shocked by how much work and how long this takes to get to that final product. So they will skip the rough, sketchy stage, or they'll skip the stage of putting in more drawings, and they'll use copy and paste, or they'll try to skip to color and clean line, and they won't spend enough time really exploring and saying, okay, should I have the character turn left? Should I have the character turn right? What's this design? What's this? Getting feedback from people, applying that critique. And so then when they get to, they'll sort of jump to color and clean line. And then when someone says, I don't understand, then they want to defend it instead of realizing, oh, if I had shown this in a rough stage, I would have heard that from somebody. I would have been able to apply that to my work. Then I would be better, but it would have taken a lot longer, and I have to be more patient in the process. So those are the kinds of things that I try to kind of talk people off the cliff and say, hey, slow down. You don't even have to do color for these assignments. You can get to that later. So,
Yeah. So, on to our next question. What does success look like for a student who completes your course? And not just skills, but also confidence or creative growth. And we kind of touched on this too, of like what you think is really a key marker of someone's success. But I'd love to hear, in terms of someone who's gone from beginning to end of your course, what do you see in terms of, wow, like, I'm proud?
so I love it when, if a student will go through um, levels 1 through 4 in animation, they will maybe not complete a film, but they will learn the whole process. And I think for that to learn, oh, there's character design and there's backgrounds and there's storyboarding and there's writing and there's animation and there's cleanup and color and there's editing and there's sound design and there's all these different things. So for me, when I see them sort of open up their eyes and go, oh, I really like this. And sometimes I'll have a student who will get to level 3, which is our story class, and they'll say, actually, I don't think I want to go make uh, the film because this is what I want to do. Like they've discovered story and storyboarding is actually what I want. I thought I wanted to make the whole film, but this is what I'm really drawn to. So that's very exciting for me when I see a student really kind of lock in and go, oh, this is what my contribution, I want my contribution to be. I love it when they make a film and then they make another film. And even if it's just storyboards and story reels, and they start to really connect with the process and practice it and do it over and over again. Students that can take the class early enough that they'll do 1 or 2 or 3 films before they enter into college. And I think that's what you did in different stages. But when you get into college, you express that like it's. I look at it kind of like preschool. Like it's giving you a lot of these tools that now, when you're ready to kind of start in a more serious approach, you're much more comfortable with the tools, and so it's so much more helpful in your growth. So, and I think it's great when they learn about themselves, what they're good at. Critique, I can take critique, or I can have confidence, or these are the things that I need to work on, or even just, oh, I'm going to have to talk to people, so I'm better get started. Those are great things. But I think all of this together is what I call the creative journey. And I really like it when I see students feel like they get excited about their journey and their future creatively, of the steps that they're going to take, the step by step process, and being comfortable and patient. Because I think sometimes there's this rush to try to get good, or get to a place where I can get into college, and then I'll get a diploma, and then I'll get a job, and then it'll be like I'll be able to relax. It's like, no, you never really get to relax unless you choose to, along the whole path. Because getting a job, then you have to get another job, or you have to, I mean, there's always another step. And so this journey is a lifetime, and it's the greatest thing ever if you love it and you love animation, you love art. So to see a student really start on that journey is very exciting.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
And if I could ask one question,
Oh, yeah. Go
going
for it.
back to kind of what does success look for a student, I'll ask you, like, what did that look like for you?
Oh, yeah. I would say the success coming out of your course was that I knew the principles of animation. I generally knew how a short film works, start to finish, even though I didn't fully finish mine. I knew what I loved, which was character animation. I did not like layout, backgrounds, or any of that, but yeah, so I just went straight into college, like feeling confident about what I love. And also practicing receiving critique was a huge thing. So that way in class, I wasn't really defeated when I received critique. I felt encouraged and motivated because I knew my professors just wanted me to grow and wanted me to succeed. So I feel like that really helped. And just like, again, good work ethic, turning assignments in on time, and learning how to schedule myself is just really valuable and goes really far. So honestly, even though I didn't finish my films, I still count it success because I learned so much along the way about myself and what I love. So yeah.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah. So now, action steps. If a 11 to 18-year-old watching this wants to start animating today, what is one thing they should do right after this video ends?
They should start. So, whatever that is, it can be sitting down and writing a story. It can be drawing on, paper. It can be digital drawing. It can be taking an online course. It could be our course or just a recorded kind of packaged course you can find on YouTube or tutorials, and do a little bit each day. And for me, when I was young, I would so easily talk myself out of sitting down to work. And so I would say, oh, I should draw. And I'd kind of get excited. And then I'd sit down and I'd go, well, maybe I could draw this. Well, I don't know if that's good enough. Well, I don't know if I would start, and then I would be like, okay, I'm going to go do something else. And I would talk myself out and really push through that. I hear a question about artist block from students a lot. And to me, I never get artist block anymore. And I realize the reason is because I don't talk myself out of ideas. That doesn't mean they're all good ideas, but I always had ideas. It was really, is it a good enough idea to spend this effort on? And so that is the question I always say to myself. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's going to be the best drawing I ever do. It doesn't mean it's going to be the best film. I don't know what other people are going to like, but it's an idea I have. So finish it, follow through on it. And worst case scenario is I'm going to learn a lot from it. Best case scenario is it might be one of the better things that I have done. And so always encouraging to yourself to sit through and push through that. And you are going to have times where you're frustrated, you want to crumple up the drawing, you want to throw the computer out the window. That's okay. Everybody has those times. That's part of the process. Don't be super discouraged by it. So those would be the things I would say, just keep going.
Yeah, that's so good. And, they should also just sign up for your course, I feel like
that's fine.
That's the obvious next step as well. So, Chad, where can they find more information about your course and about what you're doing? How can they be in the know?
Yeah, so you can go to our website. You can search the animation course online, and our website is theanimcourse.com. You could put in animation, but you don't have to. You could put in animcourse.com, and there's a list of all of our classes, and we have 3 sessions a year: spring, summer, and fall. And we also have recordings that they can just watch the recordings for a discounted rate. You can also go to our YouTube channel and watch a bunch of other students' films. We drop a completed student film every 2 weeks, and for me it's super fun to see the community of past and present students kind of celebrate each other whenever a film comes out.
Wow. Yeah, and if anyone wants to see my old assignments, you don't, but they are out there. I do have them on. I have this one video where I did a decade of animation compilation, and they're in there. Really
nice.
I'll put a little clip right here of some of them. But yeah, okay, this is awesome, and I'm just so thankful that your course existed for me, and that I was able to start early and learn as much as I can. I'm just so thankful for you and what you and Kayla are doing and how much it's grown. So just thank you so much for your time and all that you've taught me, and just always being there for advice if I needed it.
Well, you are very welcome. This is super fun for me to interview with you and see your success. And I'm so excited to hear about what's next.
Yeah, me too. We'll see what happens. But all right, I guess that's the end of the video, and thank you all so much for watching. And again, check out Chad and his stuff, and we'll talk soon.